Good evening. My name is Arym. I would like to invite you to a Bible study every Wednesday at 3 p.m. We will be studying the book of wisdom in the Holy Bible, which is the book of Proverbs. God's people perish for lack of knowledge. So if you don't want to perish, please join us. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Arym. So tonight we're reading Proverbs Chapter 3. Verse 1 reads, My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For the length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. So this is verse 1 and 2. Basically, they're talking about the commandments, the laws again, and that it adds length to your life. So how can the commandments add length to your life? Well, really, when you're doing bad things, it's risky. Okay, I'll use an example like I don't know if it was the 70s, even the 90s, because in the 90s, there were some drug dealers, and the drug dealers were always young and they were losing their lives. So basically, because of the lifestyle choice that was dangerous that they chose, they were having a short life. Okay, so I'll move on. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 3. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. So basically, verses 3 and 4 is talking about a man that shows mercy, a man that is truthful and does not forsake truthfulness. Is saying that he will find favor with God, but also he will find favor with men. Why? Because men know that they can trust him. They know he's trustworthy. They know he's honest. They know that he does what he says he's going to do. Okay, so I'll move on. Verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Now, this was my favorite scripture. When I first read the book of Proverbs, this was my favorite scriptures. It's verse 5 and 6 of Proverbs chapter 3. Verse 5 and 6. It was my favorite. I even had this verse 5 printed on my checks. And somebody received my check with that on it, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And they were shocked by that. But yeah, it's deep. What that means is Sometimes things happen and you want to question it. And you want to say, why me? Why did this happen? Why do I have such a hard time and other people have an easy time? This and that. So you don't question it. You just trust in the Lord and keep going, and it will work out. God will direct your paths. And then probably a few years later, or maybe a decade later, you'll know. But at the time you're going through it, you don't know why you're going through that. But in the future, you'll know that it made you stronger. It made you better. Okay? It made you more blessed. Okay? All these things come later. So trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. Okay, verse 7. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. So that's basic. So a lot of men are wise in their own eyes. They think they know what they're doing. They think they have it going. They're plotting something. They have a plan. They thought it out in their own head. Okay, but God is watching. They think it's going to work, but pride always comes before the fall. Okay, I'll move on. Verse 8, it shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. So what are they talking about? Trusting in the Lord. The fear of the Lord, which is wisdom. So they're talking about wisdom. Excuse me, that's the dog. So they're talking about wisdom is health to thy navel and marrow to their bones. So wisdom makes you healthy. Verse 9, honor the Lord with thy substance and with thy first fruits of all thine increase. Verse 10, so shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. So God's people will be blessed with abundance, okay? But sometimes God will put it into your heart to help someone. You'll know it because you'll feel it. You know, God will tell you when he wants you to help someone. But your barns and your presses will be overflowing, okay, if you trust in the Lord. So if you remember Joseph in Egypt, there was a famine, and he told the Pharaoh to save, the grain, because they were having years of plenty, so they saved it. And then when the famine came, they had some harvest that they had stored to give to other nations and people. Okay, so verse 11 of Proverbs Chapter 3 reads, my son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father, the son in whom he delighted. So basically this is saying sometimes, if you don't listen to God, he'll correct you. Okay? So don't get discouraged when God corrects you, because God is correcting you because he loves you. Okay? That's why he's correcting you. Just like a parent that loves their child. They're not going to let their child go down the wrong path. They're going to try to teach their child. They're going to correct their child. They're going to give their child some information, about why what they're doing is not right. Okay, so Proverbs Chapter 3 and verse 13 reads, happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. So there you go right there. If you really have wisdom, you will be happy, because that wisdom is coming from God. Okay? So don't tell me you're a wise man and you're not happy. Don't tell me you're a wise man and you're depressed. That doesn't go together. Okay, so verse 14. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof of fine gold. So that's telling you the value of having God's wisdom in your life, of putting God first. It's more valuable than anything on this earth. It has a spiritual value. Okay, and that spiritual value, of course, helps us to prosper on the earth. I want to say that also. Okay, verse 15. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things that canst desire are not to be compared with her. So they're talking about wisdom is the most precious thing. The most precious thing on the earth is wisdom, and it comes from God. Okay. Verse 16, length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. My. This is telling you the value of wisdom. Verse 17, her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. You will have peace. You will have peace. I tell you right now, I have so much peace. You can tell I have peace. If I didn't have peace, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Okay. Verse 18. She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is everyone that retaineth her. They're talking about wisdom. Can you retain it? Okay, so you're learning wisdom right now. But if you don't retain it, it's not going to benefit you. Okay, verse 19. The Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth. By understanding hath he established the heavens. Okay, so this is talking a little bit more about Genesis and how God created the world, but it reminds me of something else. Have you ever thought about gravity and why the planets don't just fall out of the sky and stuff like that? So I know there's some scientific, things behind that, but there's a book. It's called, I can't think of it right now, but it explains how the heavens and things exist, and it mentioned angels and things like that. But anyway, man has a definition for that, so just follow their definition. Okay, so verse 20. By his knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down their dew. So it's explaining, our planet is like the third planet from the sun, and there's some planets that are farther away, and I understand they're made of gas and things like that, but they're so much hotter than our planet, but we're closer to the sun. But we have an ozone layer that protects us from the sun and things like that. So it's very interesting. Okay, verse 21. My son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be life unto thy soul and grace to thy neck. So that's verse 22. So it's telling you the benefit of wisdom. It's, again, it gives life to your soul. It renews your soul. And it helps you, to walk righteously. Okay, and It gives you grace. So what is grace? Grace is a gift from God that you did not earn. God just gave you this gift. Okay, verse 23. Then shalt thou walk in thy way safely, and thy foot shall not stumble. So when you have God's wisdom, it protects you, it guides you so that you make the right decisions and you won't stumble and fall. Okay, verse 24. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. Okay, this reminds me, I have a dear friend that used to tell me there are people that have expensive beds and expensive furniture, and they can't even sleep at night. Yeah. So if you have the wisdom of God, you'll get some good sleep. You know, some people are just have so many worries and so much in their mind and in their heart and in their soul, you know, and they could have the best of everything, but the best bed, but they can't sleep without that wisdom from God. Okay, verse 25. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of the desolation of the wicked when it cometh. So fear does not come from God. Fear comes from the wicked. The father of lies is Satan. And so God gives you courage, okay, and discretion. So you'll take discretion. You're not just going to go out there and just do something that God doesn't want you to do, but God also gives you discretion on what to do, when to do this and that. But you'll hear the wicked try to scare you, you know. They'll just make up all these things, you know. This is going to happen. And they'll say all kind of lies, and it's not even true. Okay. Because that's how they control you, is by fear. They have to put that fear, the gatekeepers have to put that fear inside of you. Okay, verse 26. The Lord shall be thy confidence and shall keep thy foot from being taken. So God will give you confidence at the appointed time, because that we have that discretion that comes in. Okay, verse 27. Withhold not good for them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. So if you can help someone, God will tell you, you know, when he wants you to help someone. So let God use you and you'll be blessed. Okay, verse 28. Say not unto the neighbor, go and come again, and tomorrow I will give, when thou hast it by thee. So you could have something to give someone right next to you, you know. And if you have the wisdom of God, God will tell you and you'll just give it to him. You don't know why you're doing it, but it's because you have God's wisdom in your life and you're letting God use you. You're letting God use your hands to help someone else in need that God wants to help. Okay. Verse 29, devise not evil against thy neighbor, seeing he dwelleth securely by thee. So we have neighbors, unless you live in the country far away from people. So we have neighbors. We have to get along with them. So, you know, it's like that. Okay, 30, verse 30. Strive not with a man without cause, if he have done thee no harm. So I know one of my neighbors dropped a tree on top of my house. It was on my garage. And it was a horrible thing. And anyway, we had to get through it. So I know it's some hard things that we have to get through, living by people. But God will get you through it. Okay, verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. So don't be envious of the wicked. You may say, oh, they've done all these wicked things and nothing happened to them. They robbed a bank, this and that, this and that. But just, in God's time, you'll see. The thing is, it could be months, it could be years. The consequences of your actions will catch up to you. So plant good seeds out there. Okay, verse 32. For the froward is abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous. So basically, it says the word abomination is deep because the word abomination, means something that God hates. Okay? God does not like sin. You can't change it. I mean, he's a forgiving God, but there's consequences of sin. He said it. Okay? So, the froward person, which is the person that does the opposite of what they're supposed to do, they're a liar. That's an abomination to God. God does not like that. But his secret is with the righteous. So God blesses the righteous man. I had some notes on that. I had to look it up in like the Tanakh or the Jewish Bible. What chapter? We're in chapter 3. The devious man. Okay, verse 32. Yeah, I wrote a note. The devious man is an abomination to the Lord, but God is intimate with a righteous man. That was the word I wanted to use. Intimate. So God is intimate with a righteous man. That means that God conversates with a righteous man. He directs a righteous man. They have one-on-one communication. You don't have to go through anyone else. So that right there is pretty deep in itself. Okay, verse 33. The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just. So that's deep right there too. That is deep because hey, don't hate the messenger. I'm just the messenger. I'm just reading the word. I didn't write it. Okay, so don't get mad at me. It says the curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just. I can't add or take away to that. Okay, verse 34. Surely he scorneth the scorners, but he giveth grace unto the lowly. So the scorners, the people that shout obscenities everywhere. They're so angry. They just go and shouting obscenities. Okay, so they're scorners. They're scorners. So God scorns the scorners, but he giveth grace unto the lowly. So he will give gifts to the ones that are being scorned. Okay, verse 35, the wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools. So all these people that try to pretend they have wisdom and pretend they have knowledge, in due time they will be put to shame, because God is the one that gives wisdom and knowledge. So, the ones that have God's knowledge will inherit glory. But the ones that have foolish knowledge, they'll be put to shame. Okay, so that concludes Proverbs chapter 3. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And join us next week for Proverbs Chapter 4. I will be filming that next today. Thank you very much and be blessed.